New tonight at 10, the Belpre Board of Education held its first meeting since the school levy passed last week. The board discussed a variety of topics, with the biggest one being an update on the construction of the new school. Now that the levy is passed, the board will start bids for an architect and a contractor at risk. They will also sell bonds to fund the construction costs. Jeff Greenlee, the superintendent of Belpre City Schools, says he is excited to get started.
Yeah, well, thank you to the Belpre voters for going out to the polls last week. We were honored and humbled to be able to complete this project. The city has really been contemplating since 1997. It is a great day to be in Belpre, Ohio. We're excited about the economic development. We know that these schools are a critical piece of infrastructure.
The taxes that will be issued by the levy will work towards paying off the bonds sold. Jeff says they plan to have the school finished by 2028.